This could be good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose. But when you talk to me, give me the impression that I won't scratch your surface. And I could walk for
Dry land where the wind tasted of ash and the mountains loomed like ancient judges. There stood a village not broken by famine nor fire, but by words. The people were devout, their mouths full of scripture, their gatherings dense with debate. They recited from memory the verses of heaven and hell, light and shadow, righteousness and sin. But in their fervor to be right, they had forgotten how to be whole. Each sect taught its version of the source. Elders insisted that one could not know the light without wrestling with the dark. Mystics described an eternal struggle between body and soul. Youth, filled with zeal but lacking wisdom, painted the world in black and white. Even the scholars, revered for their knowledge, fractured the divine into opposing forces to be argued, categorized, and declared. It was no longer worship, but war in holy garments. Soon the village began to tear at its own seams. Homes were split, friendships dissolved. The temple was divided down the middle. In one half, the worshippers sang of discipline and wrath. In the other, they sang of mercy and grace, both sides convinced the other was heretical. Then one morning, the sage arrived. He wore no crest, no colors, only a long robe the hue of river stone and a staff carved with spirals, the mark of inward journeys. Without announcement or sermon, he sat by the village's old well, the same well where their ancestors once gathered to speak only after drinking deep of silence. The people came quickly. A woman raised her voice. "Sage, is not the source composed of opposites, light and dark, male and female, fire and water?" A man added, "Is not truth sharpened by contrast? Do we not find wisdom by weighing what is against what is not?" The sage looked at them, then retrieved from his satchel a bowl carved from a single stone. He filled it with water from the well and raised it to the morning sun. "Come," he said, "look." They leaned in. The water stilled, and each saw not just their faces, but their divisions, their judgments masquerading as discernment, their arguments parading as clarity. The sage asked, "What do you see?" One man replied, "I see my belief." A woman frowned. "I see contradiction." Another whispered, "I see myself divided." The sage set the bowl on the earth. "This is what your tongues have done. You have split the infinite into shapes your minds can hold. But the divine was never meant to be grasped, only honored. You teach in contrast, not because the source is divided, but because you are." A child stepped forward. "Then is the source not both sun and shadow?" The sage knelt to meet her eyes. "Not both. Beyond, not balance, but origin. The source is not a coin with two sides, but the gold from which the coin was formed." One of the elders stepped forward. "But how shall we speak of righteousness if we do not name evil?" The sage nodded. "There is a difference between discernment and division. Discernment sees what is. Division names what must be against it. One watches, the other wages war." A woman named Zaya, her voice hoarse from years of hard teachings, asked, "What of my words, sage? Be I taught truth with fire. I defended what was holy with my tongue, but I see now that I left ashes where healing was needed." The sage gently placed a hand over her mouth. "Then let your tongue be retrained, and speak not to conquer, speak to invite. Let your voice build a bridge, not a wall." He rose and turned to the gathering. You speak the name of the divine with your mouths, but divide it with your hearts. You say, God is this, not that, and each word becomes a blade. The infinite cannot be split. Only your perception can. Heal that first. That night there were no sermons, no proclamations, only stillness beneath the stars. And the next morning, when the people rose, they did not speak quickly. They listened. And in that listening, they remembered what unity felt like. Now, traveler, I ask you, when you speak of the source, are you echoing unity? Or are you carving the infinite into pieces, only to worship the
Be
fragment?
good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose. But when you talk to me, give me the impression that I won't scratch your surface.